Hi, welcome to my very first ever artist studio vlog, and I am going to start with a confession. Although adding a vlogging component is and always has been a part of my plan for this channel, I wasn't planning on doing it this soon. But here I find myself on midday, it's just past noon, Friday, March 31st, and I had a goal to publish a video every month on my new YouTube channel. I did it just in the nick of time for January, just in the nick of time for February, and here I'm doing it just in the nick of time for March. In fact, it's my intention to post this with very little post editing, and that's why a vlog makes sense. So I thought today I would talk to you a little bit about a very brief overview of kind of my history as an artist. There isn't very much of it, and I'll do a longer video about that later. But I want to kind of show you what I've been working on and tell you a strategy that I have been using since the first of this year that has been really fantastic for me in terms of opening up my creativity. So let's jump in. I have in front of me a number of my sketchbooks and things, and I want to show you my first sketchbook. This is the first sketchbook that I got when I became interested in art again. So I picked this up back in 2014. And the first images in here are some drawings of, and it's very, very light, not really meant to be shown, but drawings of a Moai statue. When I got started, I came from paint and sip. I went to a paint and sip event with my best friend. I had such an amazing time that it inspired me to pick up art as a hobby. So then shortly after that, I learned that artists on YouTube were taking their lessons that you would find at a paint and sip event and putting them on YouTube. So I could follow some tutorials and training on YouTube to paint. So that was the start of it, and I'll show you a history of my paintings later. This sketchbook I had for a couple of years, and I'll just flip through some pages. Lots of drawings. I was trying to get a sense of what Moai statue on Easter Island would look like, even though I eventually followed a tutorial. These are from some face tutorials, so this is basically a start of how I could construct something out of my memory. So if you think that I have natural talent, just take a look at that, because you'll see that I don't. I don't actually believe in natural talent. A few pages later, so you can see I was learning and studying eyes and face pieces. This one eventually became a painting. So I was improving. I copied this, and I was so proud of it. Here's one. I was so proud of this drawing, I just copied it. I could not create this if I had tried on my own. But because I had found a drawing that was drawn by someone else, I didn't have to figure out how to make marks look like, from a photograph, look like a drawing, and I was able to copy this drawing. So that's fairly early on. I don't have a date on it, but that's going to be sometime in between 2014 and 15. This notebook continues on. It's got ideas about things that became paintings. Here's a start of a painting that I made for a friend of mine. Interestingly, when I got started in art, I made a lot more original paintings than I do now. I would take tutorials and see if I could make changes in them to make them my own. This is a picture that I tried to draw of Princess Leia. Doesn't look like her at all. I can't even see it when I look at this image, but that's what this photo is. So it's interesting to me to see that these things that were originals, they're not great. This is my start, and this is just a couple of years ago. So this book has not been finished. It's got all sorts of things, from an attempt at, these were some drawings for Inktober. So there's some Inktober attempts in here. And here is, I drew my hand. So it's a drawing of my hand, not bad. So all sorts of random drawings in here, and never really meant to be shared with anyone, but when I'm done with it, I'll do a walkthrough. This is the notebook that I pick up, though, when I'm just looking to play and not really looking to create something that is a finished work. Also around that time, I bought this sketchbook, did some things in it, and then completely forgot about it. I recently discovered it, so I started a couple of pages back at that same, this was 2017, so I did a couple pages here that was in 2017, and then set it aside and didn't pick it up again until recently. So when I finish the sketchbook that I'm currently working on, I'm going to come back in and finish this one. And of course, I'll have a sketchbook tour for that as well. So let's talk about coming up into last year. I published a sketchbook tour already. It was my first video on this sketchbook here called Too Many Ducks. So it is a sketchbook that I created for my husband, and it has just many, many, many duck drawings in it. So the interesting thing about this is my art room is our living room. It's a corner of our living room. So in order to create this sketchbook and for it to be a surprise for my husband for Christmas, I had to engage in some substantial amount of subterfuge. I knew that I needed to finish this sketchbook. It was 88 paintings in 1 year, and that I could do it. I would roughly need to do about one painting every 4 days. Except I needed to hide the fact that I was doing it from my husband, who's used to me sharing my creations with him. So I started this sketchbook and did both of these sketchbooks at the same time. So what I would do is be working on kind of a public and open image at the same time I was working on one of the ducks that was sort of hidden. So I had some art that I could show him, and I also had the art that I was making for his sketchbook. The result of that is that last year I painted more than I have ever painted, probably close to, and I haven't counted, close to 150 images, because I filled this 88-page sketchbook and this 88-page sketchbook. I'll be doing a tour of that soon. And I also filled part of this sketchbook. So this is a sketchbook from a YouTube artist that I follow, Martina. Her channel is called Nerd Forge, and she makes the most amazing cool stuff. One of the things she does is bookbinding, and she created this sketchbook. So last year I decided I was going to take this sketchbook and use it for a Bob Ross series. So I have begun painting every single Bob Ross painting. So this is my first attempt right here. And that's from Bob's very, very first video. In fact, that video was never even aired on TV. So that was the first one. And then here was the second one that I did. And I, after that one, decided that I wanted all of my Bob Ross images to be both sides of the page. So from there on out, I made larger ones. I did the entire first season of Bob Ross, and I kept notes and recordings of the challenges and the process, and I am eager to share this with you in another sketchbook tour too. So I was painting Bob Ross, and I was painting in this smaller sketchbook, and I was painting these ducks for my husband. That was a lot going on last year. Now let's take a look at this year. I was doing the beginning of this year in this book. I was still finishing out this book. And one of the first things that I did on January 1st was plan what my art intentions would be for 2023. So that's what I want to talk to you about now as I talk about moving forward, because I've done a little bit of everything as part of my art intentions, and I want to share with you what I've learned as a strategy and how I am building my skills. So first art intention is to work on building my skills, and I'm doing that through drawing. I began to take Brett Evanston's Skillshare courses on the science and art of drawing. I also have his book and started through that process. I've recently hopped from him where he gets into more formal drawing about proportions and scale, and it's very formal, like you're supposed to stand and look at your object like this and measure, and it was just not fun for me. So I took a pause and went to some more recent sketches, which are in this book. So this is now my dry sketching book. It is an old notebook that I found, and I started it just a few days ago, actually. So this is my dry sketching book. This here is Lulu, and Lulu, right underneath where it says build my skills, it says character design, and that's Lulu. She's my alter ego. She's also there in the play more area. She's my alter ego, and I'm starting to work on designing the character of Lulu. I've decided I'm going to put Lulu in the front of all of my sketchbooks because her purpose is to remind me that I'm just learning and to keep a childlike sense of curiosity and openness and play. So this is that sketchbook, and it's just drawings. So I did all of these on a plane ride the other day where I was learning how to create mouths. I similarly have some head shapes in here where I was learning the Loomis method for drawing heads. So that's the sketchbook, and I'm just getting started on that, even though it's very, very old, just starting filling that out. Because I want to draw more and build my skills, I also have a tiny little sketchbook here. So this one I can take with me on the go. And I just have little sketches in here that I've created on the fly. Here's a little sketch that I made when I was thinking about one of the paintings that I did. So this is just another way for me to incorporate more art into my life by having something very, very small that I can shove in a pocket with a pen and sketch everywhere. Also on my Build My Skills, we've got here, we're starting an art business, and that's what I'm doing right now. This YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram channel, has resulted in me starting to build a following of people who are interested in what I have to say about art. So working and clicking through those goals. Right next to starting my art business was expanding my knowledge, and I chose Vincent van Gogh, and that's a drawing or painting of Vincent van Gogh. I chose him for this because Van Gogh is a artist that I've been drawn to, probably because he's become so popular. Many years ago, I started a giant painting for my husband based on Starry Night. And it's Death Starry Night. It's a Star Wars fan art, and I have not finished it. It's been something I've been working on bits and pieces for years now, and I have not finished it. So I have some resistance to that for a bunch of reasons that I've begun exploring. But in order to do it, I started to explore Van Gogh himself and figure out why I was so resistant to learning. In my Van Gogh study, I studied him. You'll see a couple more images from the study that I did in the other books that I'm going to show you. I started to take a look at his art and drawing and reproducing other things other than the Starry Night. And I've learned a lot from doing that. So that is supposed to have been the video that I was going to post in March. I have a lot of different pieces of footage of things from when I was drawing and painting during this process, but I just didn't have time to get it together. So look for that in April. That's my goal, to start working now on getting that April video out, so I'm not working on it on April 30th and putting out another vlog part 2. Let's see. This brings me to this sketchbook. So this is the sketchbook that I started after I finished the short one from last year. So I rolled right from this one into this one. This is a painting sketchbook. It's meant to be a complete sketchbook of paintings. And there's all sorts of things in here, from urban sketches that I've done. I'm exploring that process, to, here's a very quick crayon urban sketch that I did, a more drawn out watercolor that was on location. I've got all sorts of things in here. Here's reverse coloring pages where I just put the colors down and then drew around them. And I have Van Gogh's room. So that's where I did my Van Gogh's room painting, and you will see that in the upcoming video, as well as when I finish this book, a sketchbook tour of this. One of my goals, and you'll see it here on this goal sheet again, I can bring that back, is that word daily. And I am interested in making art a daily part of my life. And I found a really unique and fascinating way to do that. So I want to finish this discussion and this artist vlog with telling you about this strategy that I started just this year. So I've been doing it for only 3 months, which makes it sort of a wonderful recap on my first quarterly, if I do them quarterly, artist vlog, to let you know about this new strategy I started on January 1st and have kept it up consistently for all of this year. So the full, 90 days or roughly 90 days. And it has been drawing my life. I took this is my kind of work notebook. I use it to take notes for work things. And then in previous years, I would just fill up a notebook. And once I take the written notes that I have and convert them into something digital with more staying power, I would just toss the old notebook. This year, I decided that I wanted the notebook to be something a little bit more livable and breathable that I could take with me. So in January, I set up this page. And this has one block for every day in the month of January. So what I do is at the end of the day, or sometimes even the next day, I think about what I did that previous day, looking for something, some way to create an image that encapsulates a small portion of that day. So I can tell that on the 3rd of January, I spent the day on Zoom. I remember that day right now. I was doing onboarding calls for my new mastermind organization for my job, and I was going from Zoom call to Zoom call all day long. That was the thing that I remembered most about that day, so it's what became the square for the day. On the 10th and 11th, if we take a look, here's the 10th. There was just the most amazing thunderstorm outside, and the sky and the clouds were all dark and beautiful, and there was a brilliant silver lining in this dark, ominous cloud. So that's what I wanted to capture on that day. The day after, I ate chicken legs for lunch. There's no way I could remember or tell you what I had for lunch any other day of this week, but that day I know it was chicken legs because I drew them. So I have things from very, very important things that reminded me about what was going on that day, and if I couldn't think of anything important, I just simply drew something out of life. Most days I was able to come up with something that was really meaningful to me. This day I was playing a game with my husband, and that was a character from the game. This day is the day that I recorded the video for Too Many Ducks. So I remember that day, and in fact I can remember little bits about all of these days because I have them in a small discussion. In some cases, like this dog, and these are candies. They're little miniatures of other drawings or art that I created that day. So I remembered what day I was creating specific art things. Then I have writing, so you can see that there's writing in here with drawing over it. So that's what I do. I write my notes for the day, and then I go back later and then use the pages to doodle on, or I cover the page. Here's a note from my husband that I wanted to keep, some plant doodles, and if you look closely, you can see that my notes and my writing are still there. Sometimes I'll run an eraser over that just to fade it a little bit, but I keep them there and just use the paper for doodling. This is, remember, Van Gogh. Here's some of the work that I was doing, preparing for that Van Gogh video, and just some doodles. And then we had February, and there are my dates on February. What happened here? So here I have 2 days that I skipped the art practice. Yes, it's a daily art practice, but sometimes life happens and you can't get in there every day. In fact, there are 3 days in February that I didn't cover anything. And frankly, the last 2 days of February, I phoned it in and just put a sticker there that says another day in paradise, because those 2 days I was incredibly busy working on a promotion for work. So it doesn't have to be every day, and I don't feel bad about it because I have skipped days. But I did decide that if I skip a day again and I can't think of something to write, I at least need to paint the question mark in. So in March, I painted a question mark on a day that I skipped and couldn't think of anything to draw. This process has been a beautiful challenge for me because it has tapped into creativity and allowed me to think creatively about my day, like not, in a visual way. And most of us have pretty normal, regular days, I would imagine. I work from home. Most days I don't leave my house. Sometimes for weeks at a time, I don't leave my house. And I have pretty much the same day filled with work and art and my dogs and my husband. And so it's a real challenge to be able to find something that's unique and special about every single day. And not only unique and special, but a way to encapsulate a story or a moment from that day. And think about how to create it visually, and then also the art itself, the making of the art itself. So I'm improving and building my skills in the process over and over again through this strategy of a tiny little painting a day. None of these things, I mean, here, I ate shrimp that day, but look at that beautiful, perfect little shrimp drawing. I just love it so much. I would have never created a giant painting of shrimp. I might never have created even a full-size watercolor drawing of shrimp. But I've created this 1.5 inch drawing of a piece of shrimp, and I absolutely love it. It gave me the opportunity to try to capture a mood, a feeling, a memory, and I highly recommend this strategy if you're looking to find a way to incorporate art and creativity in your life in a way that is just low risk, high reward, and helps you develop a practice, because the road to mastery is built in baby steps. So that's it. That's my first artist vlog. I'm going to do very, very little editing so that I can get this published today. I promise to put more effort into videos in the future. I can't wait to share with you not only that Van Gogh video that I did on his bedroom, but I have just so many other things. I have this sketchbook to share with you, and I'm just so eager to start sharing what I'm learning, where I'm learning it from, other YouTubers that I follow, like the amazing Nerd Forge channel, and yeah, just share my art and process with you. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. I know this has been a kind of a long video, and thanks for listening to me babble, and I look forward to seeing where we all are in a couple of years when I'm on, artist vlog number 100 instead of artist vlog number 1. So thanks. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the YouTuber thing. Like, subscribe, comment, please. Ask me any questions that you have. I'll learn this job eventually. In the meantime, just enjoy some great art, and I'll see you again soon.